Hey guys, in this video, I'm gonna share two critical perspectives and questions you have to ask yourself before you make any business decision, before moving forward on any business purchase or acquisition, before moving forward on any real estate purchase or acquisition. Regardless of what the business decision is, here's two critical questions, two critical perspectives you gotta be looking at before you move forward on something. Yeah, so unfortunately, I learned this lesson the very hard way. 2 years ago, I was asked to sponsor a loan. And so I sponsored a loan, raised a couple of bucks for a deal that somebody else was operating. And my equity in that deal could have made me about $6 million. On paper, it increased my net worth by $6 million once this thing was stabilized. Pretty big project, pretty big property. But guess what? It was an $80 million deal. When I signed on the loan on this thing, I'm thinking, oh yeah, let me just sign on the loan. It adds hundreds of units to my balance sheet, and I'll increase my net worth by $6 million and hopefully get a payout in 3 to 5 years of an extra $5-6 million bucks. At the time, I didn't even ask myself this question, but looking back at that deal, there's two critical questions I should have asked myself. Number one, is the reward worth the risk? Meaning, I had $6 million of upside, but I have $80 million of downside. It's joint and several when you sign on a loan, even with the other people on there. So you know what that means? If the deal goes south, the bank doesn't just go after one of you. They go after all of you, but they'll go after all of you for the entire amount until they get made whole. And so buying and signing on a loan for $80 million of liability for a maybe upside of $6 million is a friggin' bad idea. It's a stupid decision. Guess what happened to that deal? The shit went south. It went bad. The management company defrauded us. The operating partner couldn't get the job done. Me and my team have had to step in, infuse millions of dollars into this thing. Not only will I not make the $6 million, I'll probably lose somewhere between $3 to $5 million on it. And we've had to table all of our acquisitions for the first half of this year, so that way we can focus on repositioning this one asset. It's been a complete pain in my ass, and if I would have asked myself that question at the very beginning, then I wouldn't have even bought it. And here's the second question that you have to be asking yourself before you're pursuing new opportunities. I shared this backstory with somebody who sold his mortgage company. So this guy's worth $250 million, maybe more. I don't know how many partners he had or how much debt or anything like that. But I shared this story with him. And we had a one-on-one chat. He's like, dude, Tim, let me ask you, let me share something with you. He says, do you understand what 100 millionaires and billionaires, how they make decisions? I was like, tell me. He says, they make decisions not on a 3 to 5 year or 1 year timeline. They're making decisions based on the next 100 or 500 years. Think about Elon Musk. He's talking about colonizing friggin' Mars beyond his lifetime. They're thinking legacy. They're thinking about passing properties down, passing assets down, making impact for generations and generations to come. Not for themselves, not even for their kids, not for their grandkids, but 100-year decisions. And he goes, listen, if I asked you, do you see yourself owning this property over the next 100 years? What would you say? I'd say, hell no, I don't want to own it for more than 3 to 5 years. He's like, exactly. And that's where you messed up, because you're making short-term decisions. You care about how much you're making this year, not the legacy that you're creating long-term. And for me, being a guy that's all about legacy, that was a punch in the mouth. That is now how I make decisions. Is this a property that I want to own for the next 100 years? So I'll give you another example. There's a piece of real estate in Cleveland, Ohio, on this beautiful park system, backing up, overlooking the parks. We were going to build it to suit for a restaurateur. With COVID and some other things happening, things got out of whack and got delayed a couple years. And they brought me a proposal to build a building there for $6 million for like 9,000 or 10,000 square feet. That's $600 a square foot. That's a lot of friggin' money, especially for Cleveland, Ohio. That's a lot of money for downtown Charleston, which has a phenomenally booming economy. This is a suburb of Cleveland. Now, it's a nice piece of real estate, but at the end of the day, $600 per square foot, a $6 million loan, guess what? That all falls on me. They need me to sponsor the loan. They need me bring all the capital. They're the tenant who's willing to run a business and pay rent. But the reality is they have to run a $6 or $7 million business and run it for a long time before I ever see any upside on this deal, because I'm overpaying and overbuilding for what the real estate is. And so when you're looking at a deal and you're asking yourself those two critical questions, those two critical components of is this a legacy property? It would be. That one would be. I could see myself owning it for the next 100 years. But it doesn't check the other box. Is the reward worth the risk? I have $6 million of liability for little to no upside for another 10 to 15 years. And so I had to pull the plug on the deal. I said, no, we're going to list the property. I hoped that we could do some cool things with it, but at the end of the day, we can't with that operator. So we're going to list it as either a for sale, maybe a build to suit, maybe a land lease. Let somebody else come in here, take on that risk. We'll contribute our real estate to the deal if they want us to and be a partner in that component, but we're not going to take on all that risk, all the liability. I just don't need that shit, right? Like, we're looking, I live right there, right? I'm already on the ocean. I don't need another ocean house, right? I own a friggin' island. I have a house in the mountains. I have a great business. I have a great team. I have a great family. I have a great lifestyle. I have time. Like, you get to a point where if you don't need that shit, don't take on bad deals. Don't do stupid shit just to pound your chest for ego. Make sure you're asking yourself, is the reward worth the risk? And make sure you're asking yourself, is this something that I can see myself owning as a legacy property? Something I see myself owning for the next 100 years, at least 25 years. If you just ask yourself that question, that will reduce a lot of the not good enough deals from your desk and let you focus on finding the ones that do meet that criteria. Well, Tim, I don't want to, miss out on opportunities, and it's hard to find deals. I promise you, the more you say no to things, the more other properties that do fit your buying criteria end up showing up. The reason you're not seeing more of those deals is because you're wasting your time on all this noise over here of deals that don't fit your criteria, because you have this scarcity mindset that there's not an abundance of opportunity out there. And so understand that those deals are out there. You got to say no to more stuff and be so laser focused on what you want and making sure that it checks both those boxes. Implement that in your business. You're going to make great business decisions moving forward. Hey, if this was helpful for you, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're always trying to put out awesome content that is a value add to your life, to your business, as entrepreneurs trying to support each other. So give me your biggest takeaways in the comments. I'd love to see that. And if you have any questions or ideas for future content, please put it in there. I'll make a video just for you. So until next time, I appreciate you being here. Be your best.